All right, so this is a little bit of a tricky juggling act that we've been working out here. But I'm Nina Luning Prak, and it's my honor to present some announcements and AIR community-wide business. But we're going to be having several speakers join us sort of in this one slide deck, and we'll see how we can make that work. So I want to start by introducing Pam Boarcard, who's going to give you some updates and a little bit of an overview of the meeting that we've had so far, just by the numbers. And so let me just turn that on here. And Pam, why don't you take it away?
All right. Yeah. So we just thought it might be interesting for everyone to know what we've been up to for this meeting in particular. So we've had 161 registrants and 5 sponsors, 1 keynote presentation, 6 invited speakers, 2 judging panels, 4 short talk presenters, 28 poster presenters, 4 software demonstrators, 9 moderators, 19 community presenters. We used an entirely new platform that we only learned about 2 months ago. And then in addition, we had 2 globally attended pre-meetings with over 175 participants. So it's been quite a busy time here with AIR Community Meeting 5. Our small but mighty team that you can see there on the lawn in Genoa, the meeting subcommittee members, we'd like to extend our deep thanks to everyone. Thank you so much for attending and bearing with us while we learned how to use a giant Zoom world. A special thanks to Jamie Scott for her inspired leadership and tireless work on the meeting subcommittee. We couldn't have done it without Jamie. Thanks to the exec for supporting our many plans, pivots, decisions, recommendations, decisions, and finally execution. Thanks to the comms subcommittee for supporting us, for amplifying the events and continually stepping up and screenshotting and tweeting and retweeting and posting and video editing, which has already begun, by the way, and LinkedIn posting and slacking. I don't know if that's actually what you're supposed to say about Slack, but I'm calling it slacking. Thanks to everyone in the AIR community for the time you've given us and the passion and the energy that you bring to the working groups, the subcommittees, and of course to these meetings. We really appreciate all your feedback and your attitude. So we will see you in December, we think. Will that be in person or virtual? Well, that's a crystal ball issue again. So thanks, everyone.
And actually, did you want to just quickly mention real or virtual meeting?
so our, we're switching back to meeting 6 plans, and so we anticipate our plan A at this point is to rehost, as Jamie said in our meetings report a couple of days ago, exploring new frontiers, and we hope that we can do it in person in San Diego or La Jolla, and save the dates. The plan is December 7th to 11th, 2021. So hope to see you then.
Great. Thank you, Pam, as always, for that outstanding summary. The numerical summary made me feel a little bit like the 12 days of Christmas with all those numbers flying by. So now I want to introduce Ann Ungster, who's going to announce another meeting that might be of great interest to this AIR community. So Ann, let me just put your slide up here. I hope it's clear enough, so have at it.
Okay, so good evening or good morning, whatever, to everybody. I think you've seen that already a year ago in Genoa, and sadly, because sadly we had to postpone this meeting. We had planned it this year in 2020 in May in Dresden, the nice season, but it all was postponed. And unfortunately, also for 2021, it's too risky to plan anything. Oops. So we have been thinking to now really shift it for 2 years. It will be 2 years later, a bit more. And we have a fixed date now with the Max Planck Institute, who is hosting us for July 22. So please mark your calendars. It's going to be an interesting meeting with some workshops and so a week a congress and 3 weeks workshops. So please mark your calendars. And if you have any question, you can get back to me or to Uri, Michael, or Gur, the co-organizers. So thank you, and hope to see you in December next year and then in 22 again.
Yeah, and I just want to add, I was really excited about this meeting. I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for people to collaborate and interact closely. You can see it goes on for quite a while. And so there'll be very close interactions, lots of, working groups. You can see the different topics there. Really, really great. So thank you, Anne, for persisting, and hopefully we will see this happen in 2022.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, so then now it falls to me to give a few more summaries of interest to the AIR community. So the first one is the ratification of the plans that were discussed on Monday. So we had 50 votes that were completed online. That's sufficient to meet quorum. All of them were in favor of the plans that were proposed. No votes were against. So that's very conclusive, I would say, definitive. Now, another thing I wanted to do was just touch a little bit on the meeting themes that we've had in terms of the AIR working group missions. And so I think there were several things that we got out of Monday's discussions, and I just want to provide sort of a very high level view here. So one of the things we discussed was to realign some of the goals, organization, and leadership within our working groups and subcommittees. And certainly in early 2021, there will be a lot of back and forth about that for several of the working groups. We also discussed adopting the AIR community standards and trying to promote their widespread use through a variety of mechanisms, through interactions with companies, other groups, journals, funding agencies, to name a few. Another area of importance was the idea of incorporating data as well as databases into the AIR data commons. And so there were a whole series of tasks and an explosion of commentary in the chat when we discussed this. So lists of databases, come up with a querying tool that can go across different databases, perhaps also include reference sets of data for testing of analysis tools. And then of course, really getting investigators to buy into putting their data into the AIR data commons, as well as putting their data, their raw data into places like SRA, GenBank. Now, we also discussed collaborative work that we'll do as a community on 2 chapters for the methods in molecular biology special immunogenomics issue coming up. So more on that to follow. If anyone is interested, keep an eye out. We will email, we will post things online, etc. We also discussed financial support for infrastructure projects and prizes. And talked about outreach to commercial sponsors, as well as, of course, to our organization TABS, which works closely with us in all of these matters. We also had a very nice discussion about germline gene nomenclature and the overarching goal there of promoting certainty, clarity, future-proofing, and speed for nomenclatures of immune repertoire genes. There's also been a TCR germline sub-working group that has rapidly emerged out of our discussions on Monday, as well as potentially earlier than that. And then another area that we spoke at some length were educational and mentoring initiatives. So several were discussed, podcasts, perhaps having a special session in the focus meeting and other meetings as well. We discussed outreach to students and early career investigators, and encouraging mentoring and membership of early stage investigators in our subcommittees and working groups. And last but not least, we talked about promoting fair and open science, and also updating and aligning our value statements within the AIR community to more closely align the updated value statements and mission statements within TABS. So those are some of the high level discussions that we had on Monday for community-wide work. All right, so now the results you're all waiting for, perhaps, the election. So the election was held, and these are your newly elected AIR Community Executive Subcommittee members. So our new chair-elect is Victor Greif. And our 3 at-large members are Felix Braden, who is a glutton for punishment and is continuing to serve in the AIRR-C Executive Subcommittee. So Felix, thank you so much for continuing in this role. Christian Busu, ditto. Thank you, Christian. And then Encarnita, our new member, Congratulations, Encarnita, and welcome to the AIRR-C Executive Subcommittee. So these are our new subcommittee members. Now it falls to me to have a series of thank yous for so many people who have made this meeting possible, but also who have made the whole year that the AIR community has gone through possible and manageable. So first and foremost, of course, I want to thank for this meeting our sponsors. So our gold level sponsor is of course Distributed Bio, and there I really want to have a shout out to Jacob Glanville, who has been a sponsor of the AIR community throughout our time. And Jacob, if you're listening, we miss you, and we look forward to being able to have more, face-to-face interactions and get back to having some of those parties that you've so generously hosted with AIR community members in the past. We also very much appreciate the incredible hard work that JP and others have done. So again, Distributed Bio has contributed to us both in money terms, but also substantially in terms of effort. So we're really extremely grateful. And then our silver level sponsors, Adaptive, the Antibody Society, and here a shout out to Jan Reichert, the Executive Director of TABS, who has worked closely with us and been very supportive of all things AIR, and Pecan and Simon Fraser University. So again, thank you all for that. Now I do want to also thank the meetings subcommittee. This is a small group of people who have done an incredible job and an incredibly large amount of work actually to get all of these meetings going. And I think the outline that Pam provided you sort of highlighted by the numbers how much work they've really done. But again, Jamie Scott, the co-lead, who is really very good at figuring out who should come to these meetings, who should speak, and tracking people down. Pam is the all-around glue. But we'll get back to Pam a little bit later. JP and David, the two of you have managed to keep us all sort of sane on Zoom. I don't know how you do it. And you've just been there all the time through so many meetings and so much work. Also David and Ramit, very busy with the poster sessions and the short talks and helping out in many different ways. So thank you all so much. And I think here, just again, a quick review of all the things that have happened, right? So in 2020, we had the global pandemic. We have no crystal ball, no way to predict how to sort of navigate this. And so what happened? We pivoted to the Zoom platform. We had a full extra meeting that was planned that went from really nothing to something in under 3 months. That was the AIR Community COVID-19 special events. And just look at these numbers, more than 50 planning meetings, hundreds of hours. Also, the meetings committee helped coordinate the election, the ratification vote, and of course, this current meeting. So again, kudos to all of you and thank you for all that you do. Another subcommittee within AIR that does an incredible job and really we could not function without them is the communications subcommittee. And you'll notice actually that some of these people are the same people who are also on the meetings subcommittee. So again, kudos to Jamie Scott, to Pam, to JP, Victor, and also Susanna for all your hard work. And you can see Victor and JP as co-leads doing a lot of tweeting, doing LinkedIn work and Slack. And yes, Pam, I don't know whether slacking is a proper verb, probably not, but it's in any case, anything but slacking is what these folks have been doing. And so just again, thank you all so much for your hard work. I also want to have a quick shout out to Steve Kleinstein, who is leaving the executive subcommittee board this year. Steve has been, very heavily involved in the AIR community from its inception. He, of course, worked on the minimal standards working group and helped with the MyAir standard. And he, of course, is also a tweeting and Facebook and social media master. And you can see, I just threw up here some of the tweets that his group has been doing, even just about the AIR community meeting recently. So here's one that's actually, today. And this is typical of Steve. He is extremely supportive of everything that the AIR community does. He, of course, also has the incantation framework programs that many of us use for data analysis, and he does really great workshops for these. So take a look at those. I'm sure most people in this audience are quite familiar, but if you're not, that's a great way to learn some basic things about AIR-seq data analysis. And again, I thank him personally for his leadership and wise counsel on the executive subcommittee for the last 3 years. All right, so now my favorite part, some prizes for the AIR community members. So I wanted to recognize 2 members of our AIR community who have really gone, I think, above and beyond the call of duty in so many ways. And there's also a little bit of tongue in cheek here, as you will see. So the first prize goes to Christian Busu. So Christian, I'm giving you the AIRR-C Renaissance Man Prize. And this, Christian, is because you serve in so many different ways in the AIR community that I can barely keep track. And you have so many different talents. So you're a physician, an immunologist, an expert in single cell work. You know a lot about bioinformatics, but you also work on legal and ethics, governance. You serve on our executive subcommittee, and you go hiking. So hopefully this is not like this book here, the Project Renaissance Man, which is a much more dismal version of things. I think we are incredibly lucky to have you as part of our group and to have you kind of help hold things together, because you can see what all the different working groups and subcommittees are doing since you serve on almost all of them. So thank you, Christian, for all that you do for us. And then the second one, last but certainly not least, is, and this is in her own words here, we have Pam Boarcard. And Pam says, "I feel like an air traffic controller." This is her quote, not mine, but I did add the extra R. I thought about this for a while, and there are several qualities that air traffic controllers have. And there's even this little text here online that I found for air traffic controller trainees. They need to be creative, resilient, have a can-do attitude, be a team player and a hard worker. So of course, you know, Pam is all of these things, but she is also some other things. And I glean my knowledge from watching Air Disasters, which is this horrible show that's on the Smithsonian Channel that my husband loves to watch. But in Air Disasters, the good air traffic controllers are cool under pressure, can multitask, and are above and beyond everything else. They have to be excellent communicators. Without that, disasters, of course, predictably happen. So other little tidbits: if you're on an airplane, keep your seatbelt fastened. And pay attention, especially during takeoff and landing, to where you're sitting and where the emergency exits are. So there you have it. But in terms of Pam, I want to comment, she's really not an air traffic controller trainee. She's more of an experienced air traffic controller. And so one possibility is, instead of continuing to refer to her as Pam, maybe we want to give her a formal title like Executive Director of the Air Community or something like that. So just something to consider for the upcoming year. But again, Pam, we couldn't do this without you. So thank you. And then, okay, the other thing is, I certainly would be remiss not to also acknowledge the AIR community membership for their engagement. So just by the numbers here, you can see we have a fair number of people in the AIR community: 74 standard members, 33 postdocs, 72 student members. And again, students and postdocs, don't be afraid to engage with us. If you're interested in joining a subcommittee or a working group, especially the working groups, reach out, and we will also work on making those more transparent to you. Registrants for this meeting number at 161. So again, really quite a nice group of people who are all engaged in some way in AIR-seq science. All right, so then last but not least, from my standpoint, the other title we have within the AIR community is maybe the Torchbearer. And I am now officially the past chair of the AIRR-C Executive Subcommittee. And I hereby formally pass my torch over to Lindsay Cowell, who is your new chair of the AIRR-C Executive Subcommittee. See how easy that was compared to the US election. So Lindsay, is, of course, for those of you who don't already know her well, she's an associate professor of population and data science and immunology at UT Southwestern. She has several areas of expertise, especially in computational biology, systems immunology, cancer biology. Her specialties are in somatic hypermutation analysis of antibody repertoires, dynamics of immune responses, as well as ontologies and formal logic. She is, in addition to her prior role on the executive committee as a member, as the chair-elect, she is also the co-lead of the AIRR-C Common Repository Working Group and runs the VDJ server, which is part of the AIR Data Commons. So, so Lindsay, here's the torch for you. And I know that the AIR community will be in very good hands under your leadership. And so with that, I'd like to pause and let Lindsay speak for a bit.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to share my screen.
Okay, I will stop sharing mine.
I would like to, first of all, echo the thanks that Nina has given to Pam, our air traffic controller. I fully support executive director of AIRR-C for that. Also Steve, outgoing exec member, the meetings and comms committee, everyone. But I also want to express a deep thank you to Nina with wagging kitty cat tails here, and also a virtual round of applause. So I'm clapping, I'm sure everyone else is clapping, for your service to the community over the last 18 months. I think you've just done an absolutely fantastic job managing the day-to-day business of the community, as well as accomplishing multiple tasks that were really critical to our transition into a fully established community, like formalizing our relationship with TABS. So we all very much appreciate your service. And I just wanted to say I'm excited to receive the torch. It's just been really exciting to see the growth of this community from the first few meetings in a small conference room at Simon Fraser University in like 2015. When Jamie and Felix had this idea, and to see that grow into this international organization with a growing and extremely active membership. So I really hope that I'm able to serve as effectively as our first two chairs, Felix and Nina, and continue our growth trajectory. So I just want to also add that I look forward to working with Victor. So we welcome Victor as our new chair-elect, and also working with the new and returning executive committee members and our working group and subcommittee leads to continue supporting our community's initiatives. These will be formally established in a joint meeting of the executive subcommittee and working group and subcommittee leads in early 2021. But are expected to center around the goals outlined in Tuesday's presentations and the 2020 reports that were submitted, and of course, which were outlined by Nina just a few slides ago. But in general, all of these will continue to be focused on promoting fair and open science, and of course, best practices in the generation and use of AIRR-seq data. Fingers crossed that we get updates on our work to come over the next year in person in La Jolla in December 2021. But of course, the meetings committee will keep us posted on that decision. And then I'll just close by saying this closes the formal portion of the AIR Exec announcements piece of the agenda. So I'm going to pass back over to Pam and the meeting subcommittee now, but they will explain, we still have a poster session as well as another networking session after the poster session. So they will explain the details, and I hope people will stay with us through those next two sessions. And thank you again, everyone.